My wife refused intimacy for months, then suddenly she said she was pregnant. I already knew the truth, so I played along. At dinner she announced it like a surprise. I acted shocked, then I dropped the real bombshell on the table. Her face went ghost white. My name is Michael Lawson, I'm 32 years old, and I work as a shift supervisor at Holston Dynamics Company in Texas for 5 straight months. My wife Rachel had been pulling away from me, first emotionally, then physically. It started with skipped dinners and sudden migraines. Then came the excuses. Late meetings, overwork, guest room accidents. Now, she wouldn't even look me in the eye. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching her dry her hair at the vanity. Her eyes flickered up, caught mine in the mirror, then looked away, quick, almost guilty. The woman I married 4 years ago used to light up when I walked through the door. She used to run barefoot from the kitchen just to wrap her arms around me. Now, she flinched when I touched her shoulder like even my skin had become unfamiliar. Rachel, I said softly, we need to talk about this. About what? She asked too quickly, placing the dryer down with a clatter. Her hand trembled before she tucked it into her lap. About us, about whatever this is. For a second, barely a heartbeat, I saw something in her eyes, fear, maybe, or guilt. But just as fast, she replaced it with that fake smile she'd been wearing like armor lately. There's nothing wrong, Michael, she said. I'm just tired from work. Rachel worked as a receptionist at a Listen Tech downtown. Same company for 2 years. Same 9 to 5 hours. Same desk, same co-workers, same everything. But now, suddenly, she came home drained, claiming mental exhaustion every night. You've been tired for 2 months. I made an appointment with Dr. Lanning next week, she said casually. Maybe I need vitamins or something. The way she said it sounded rehearsed, like she'd gone over the line in her head 100 times. I nodded, but something cold settled in my chest. I knew Rachel too well, and this woman standing in front of me didn't feel like her anymore. That night, I lay beside her in silence. Her breathing was calm, too calm. When had she stopped talking in her sleep? When had she stopped curling into me under the sheets? When did the woman I loved become a stranger sleeping a foot away? The next morning, I found her hunched over the toilet in the upstairs bathroom. It was 7 a.m. She didn't hear me approach until I spoke. Rachel, I said softly. She jumped, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. Michael, you scared me. Are you sick? I think I ate something bad last night. That Thai place probably messed me up. But we ate the same food, I said. I feel fine. She avoided my gaze. I've got to leave early, important client meeting. She was already dressed for work, her purse slung over her shoulder, keys in hand. Rachel never mentioned clients before. Ellison Tech didn't even deal with clients that way. She answered phones, scheduled meetings. There was never a meeting important enough for her to skip breakfast. As she walked out the door, I stayed behind, sipping cold coffee from the mug she gave me on our 2nd anniversary. Faded blue lettering still read "World's Best Husband." The irony stung. Something wasn't right. My gut screamed it. But I had no proof, not yet. I met Rachel 5 years ago at my cousin Jake's wedding in Tucson. She was laughing at something the bride had said. Her smile was radiant, not the polite kind, but the kind that made you feel like you were in on the joke. I asked her to dance. That night, we talked until the DJ packed up and the waitstaff turned off the lights. She was 25 then, working part-time at a bookstore while finishing her business degree. I was 28, already a few years into my job at Holston, dreaming of something permanent, solid, a family, a future. We got married a year later in a quiet ceremony at St. Francis Chapel. Her parents flew in from Michigan. My folks filled 3 pews and brought enough casserole to feed the church. She wore my grandmother's pearl necklace and cried during the vows. That memory used to bring me peace. Now, it brought questions. The first 2 years were good, really good. We bought a small but cozy house on Willow Bend Drive, with a red front door and a creaky porch swing. I built her a little garden box, and she planted roses, tomatoes, lavender. We talked about kids. Not immediately. Rachel wanted to build her career first, and I respected that. But somewhere along the way, The soil in our marriage dried up. She stopped asking about my day, stopped slipping little notes into my lunchbox, stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. She started working late twice a week, then 3, then 4. I tried to pull us back, planned a dinner at Romano's, her favorite Italian spot. She said she wasn't in the mood for heavy food. I bought Diamondbacks tickets. She said she had a work commitment. It wasn't just neglect. It felt like she was erasing us, one excuse at a time. And I was no longer sure who she was anymore or who she was becoming. When my sister Betty invited us over for Sunday dinner, Rachel suddenly had plans a last-minute catch-up with her old college friend Olivia. She had never been close to Olivia. In fact, I could count on one hand how many times she mentioned her name since we got married. But suddenly, she was a staple excuse, always shopping, venting, or supporting Olivia through a breakup. Right. Intimacy didn't disappear overnight, it faded slowly, painfully, like the dying battery of a phone you once couldn't put down. First, she was too tired, then too stressed, then too focused on planning for our future. What future? I asked her 2 weeks ago. She didn't even blink. Just things, Michael, you wouldn't understand. She had never spoken to me like that before, not in 4 years, dismissive, cold, like I was some obstacle in her way instead of her husband. So I started watching, really watching. Her phone always face down. Her work schedule became a mystery. She stopped wearing her wedding ring on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Her clothes, sharper, more expensive, didn't match her receptionist salary. Then last Wednesday, she came home smelling like cologne not mine. When I asked, she gave a weak laugh, said the elevator at work broke down and she had to ride up with someone named Caleb. Caleb from accounting, she said. No, she corrected. Caleb from the warehouse. But Alyson Tech didn't have a warehouse. I knew that for a fact. I'd been to her office building. It was 5 floors of cubicles and boardrooms, nothing else. The lie sat between us at dinner like a third guest. I didn't press, not then. That night, she slept in the guest room again, said she didn't want to disturb me. I realized I had already lost my wife. I just didn't know when it happened or who she became. And then I found the receipt. A Thursday afternoon in early October, I was digging through the filing cabinet looking for the fridge warranty when I saw it, tucked behind our insurance folder like someone had tried to hide it. Planned Parenthood, Phoenix. Dated 6 weeks ago, a pregnancy consultation, positive test. 6 weeks ago was when Rachel started pulling away, stopped letting me touch her, started acting like intimacy was some burden she no longer wanted to carry. I sat on our bed holding the receipt like it was radioactive. Morning nausea, no more wine at dinner, loose blouses. The way she shielded her stomach like she was already protecting someone else's secret. Rachel was pregnant, but we hadn't been intimate in almost 3 months. The math was brutal. I didn't scream, I didn't accuse, I didn't even flinch. I let the betrayal settle deep, like cement drying in my bones. The woman I loved, the woman I believed in, was planning to pass off another man's child as mine. That night, she brought home Chinese takeout, acted like everything was normal, even suggested we watch a movie together. How was your day? She asked. Good, I said, smiling like nothing had changed. Inside, I was already building my war chest. For the next 2 weeks, I studied her, quietly, closely. She refused coffee in the mornings, avoided my touch, rubbed her stomach when she thought I wasn't looking. She was rehearsing her reveal. So I rehearsed mine. 2 weeks later, I struck my first move. Rachel, I said over breakfast one Saturday. I've been thinking about what you said, about starting a family. Maybe we shouldn't wait. Her fork paused midair. She blinked twice. What? She asked. Let's try now, I said gently. I think we're ready. The color drained from her face. I thought we agreed to wait until I got that promotion, she said. What promotion? You never mentioned a promotion. I asked. She fidgeted with her napkin. Well, it's not official yet. But Mr. James hinted that there might be a management opening soon. There's no Mr. James, I wanted to say. I'd already called her office pretending to be a vendor. I knew every name in that building. Instead, I smiled. How long do you think it'll take? I don't know, 6 months. maybe more. 6 months right when her pregnancy would be too obvious to hide. I think we should start now, I insisted. We're not getting any younger. She stood abruptly. I need a shower, Olivia and I are shopping today. She bolted. I sat there, stirring cold eggs, mapping my next steps. That day, I drove to the downtown library and used the public computers. I researched private investigators, paternity testing labs, divorce lawyers. Took notes in a new notepad, not the one we shared at home. This was mine, all mine. That night, Rachel returned with shopping bags full of loose-fitting maternity blouses. She called them business casual. Looks great, I said. She slept in our bed that night. Let me hold her, for the first time in weeks. She tensed when I touched her stomach. Michael, she whispered. Yay. Do you ever think about the future? All the time, I said. What do you see? I paused. I see honesty. 2 people who trust each other, that's all I want. She didn't respond. The following Monday, I met with Eleanor Whitmore, a lawyer downtown. Gray hair, sharp eyes, soft voice. She listened without judgment. Do you want to save the marriage? She asked. I want the truth. Then get the DNA, quietly. She explained everything, prenatal testing, legal rights, divorce protections. I left with business cards and ammunition. A few nights later, Rachel made beef stew, my favorite, and I actually smiled when I walked in. I love you, she said, handing me a beer. I love you, too. It wasn't a lie that was the problem. 3 days later, she dropped the final bait. I'm driving to Tucson to see my sister Jessica, she said. Rachel had no sister named Jessica. She had one sibling, Emma, who lived in Sacramento and was happily married. How long will you be gone? Just the weekend. Tell Jessica I said hi. She smiled. I followed her. She didn't go to Tucson. She drove 20 minutes to a modest house in Tempe. A man came out to greet her, dark hair, athletic build. He kissed her like a man kissing his own wife. I parked across the street and took photos. Her car, his house, them together. His name was William Bancroft. Contractor, no wife, no kids, fired 6 weeks ago. Delinquent on child support. 6 weeks ago, same time she got pregnant. They had a plan. I could hear it when I followed William to a coffee shop and overheard his phone call. She told me her husband wants to start trying for a baby. She just needs a couple more weeks, then she'll break the news to her husband. I was shocked when I heard him say that. My future, hijacked by strangers. The next Thursday, I planted a GPS tracker on Rachel's car and installed software on our laptop. I opened a secret bank account. Harrison Lockwood, the PI, gave me tools I didn't know existed. That night, I watched her through a window, curled on William's couch, his hand resting on her stomach. I took photos from multiple angles and I waited. Saturday night came. She chose Romano's, our first date spot. She wore a blue dress and nerves. Michael, she said over dinner, I have something to tell you. I nodded. Go on. She took my hand, eyes shimmering. We're going to have a baby. I looked stunned, played my part. Really? She nodded. We finally did it. When are you due? Late spring. I'm 6 weeks along. Right on cue, I reached into my jacket and placed the manila envelope on the table. She blinked. What's this? Open it. She pulled out the photographs, William face, her car, receipts, a background check, child support debt, a signed DNA test form. She dropped them like hot coals. Her face went ghost white. Michael, I can explain. Explain how you got pregnant when we haven't touched each other in months. She stammered. Explain the man touching your stomach? Explain why I followed you to Tempe, not Tucson. She was silent, exposed, defeated. I leaned forward, my voice calm, deadly calm. I know everything, Rachel. All of it. You were going to trap me into raising his child. But the only person being played here is you. She pushed back from the table and rushed toward the exit, her high heels echoing across the tiles. I didn't chase her. Outside, in the parking lot, I watched her collapse near her car, sobbing into her hands, mascara running like ink on a sinking ship. I walked closer to her and saw her, sitting on the curb beside her car, her head buried in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. I never meant for this to happen, she whispered without looking at me. I stood still, my chest burning with a mix of rage and disbelief. Which part? I asked coldly. The affair, or getting caught? She slowly lifted her head, her eyes were red and swollen. I thought I could fix it. I thought you'd never find out. No, Rachel, you didn't think I'd find out because you thought I was stupid. She blinked, stunned, then muttered, No, Michael. I just thought I was smarter. The silence that followed was the loudest moment of our marriage. By Monday, the divorce papers had already been filed. Eleanor Whitmore, my attorney, told me Rachel had everything ready weeks before I even knew. She had been planning her exit if I refused to accept the baby she will leave. While I was still fighting to make our marriage work. She moved out quietly that week, taking only her clothes and a few personal items. No note, no goodbye, just a silence that echoed through the empty rooms. William Bancroft, the man she left me for, had the audacity to call. He claimed Rachel told him we were separated long before they started anything. I didn't say a word, I just hung up. The baby was born in June. Rachel tried to block the DNA test, but as her legal husband, I had every right and I needed the truth in writing even if I already knew. The results confirmed it. William Bancroft was the father, not me. Rachel and William didn't last. 8 months after our divorce was finalized, she found out he had lied about everything: his job, his plans, his other women. She caught him cheating with not one, but 2 women from his gym. One night she called me crying so hard I could barely make out her words. I made the worst mistake of my life, she said. I listened, quiet, calm, then I hung up. 6 months later, I sold the house on Willow Bend Drive, the home we once dreamed in. I bought a smaller place in Scottsdale, where the silence felt less painful and the air didn't smell like betrayal. I stayed at Halston Dynamics, worked hard, and was promoted to floor manager. At night, I took business classes at Phoenix Community College. I focused on building, not breaking, healing, not hurting. Meanwhile, Rachel working double shifts at a diner in Tucson. She could barely pay rent. William disappeared as soon as child support from his previous relationship hit him hard. She was left alone, raising a baby, sleeping on a second-hand couch in a studio apartment. The roses she planted in front of our old house, red ones, her favorite, withered and died the summer after she left. I never touched them again. I stopped watering them the day she walked out. I used to lie awake at night, wondering what I did wrong, replaying every argument, every moment I missed the signs. But healing doesn't begin with answers, it begins with acceptance. She broke something sacred between us, not just vows, but the trust that held everything together, and for a long time, I carried that brokenness like it was mine to fix. But then I realized, I didn't fail her, she failed me. While she was chasing temporary sparks and empty promises, I was rebuilding, slowly, quietly. Day by day, I worked late shifts, studied under fluorescent lights, saved every dime, not to prove anything to her, but to remind myself of who I really was before she tried to erase me. Now she serves tables in a town where no one knows her name. William is long gone. The baby she thought would make her feel whole became the weight of her choices, and me. I have peace, a stable job, a quiet home. Funny how the roses she planted in our yard died the summer she left. I didn't water them, not out of spite, but because some things aren't meant to bloom twice. A life that doesn't shake when someone walks away. She chose chaos, I chose healing, and in the end, we both got exactly what we watered. Loyalty is only truly tested when times are hard. Never trade a lifetime of trust for a moment of temptation. Subscribe for more stories. Thank you.